Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Sprites of Life podcast. I'm Lucas.
Chris,
And I'm Don.
Don's back.
I'm back.
He is back. Oh, it's so nice to see him again. House good now? Power back? Wi-Fi good?
Yeah, everything other than actually, yeah, I guess everything's totally good now. The last thing was a couple light bulbs that just didn't want to work.
Just like not even new light bulb, just the
Just like
wiring
just
wasn't
like
right.
weirdly dim. But I something in the light bulb. I think we got a surge and it like messed it up, but everything seems to be good now.
I'm glad. They hopefully. I mean, again. I was down there the other week and saying hi with everybody, but like, it got my neighborhood got a little bit more messed up than I would like, and I can't even imagine what the other places got.
Oh yeah, yeah. And that was the wind was pretty intense. There was definitely a lot of damage. There's still just debris piles everywhere. It's going to be months, I think, before the city gets everything they said.
Well, I'm glad to have you back, especially since we are doing a pretty heavy episode, like a bigger topic than we normally do. Sometimes we go very specific, but I decided let's just go as broad as possible and see where we land. Do you, either of you
Was that a pun right there?
uh,
See where we land.
yes, see where we land. We're talking, you know what? Fine, they can see the title. We're talking about flying types. I was gonna go for the big thing and ask your favorite flying types. No, you know
The
what?
favorite topic of Nelly Furtado.
Okay, have many gripes about that song. In fact, and we're gonna start this early already. So I'm like a bird. I only fly away. I don't know where my home is. Okay, birds have incredible homing instincts. Homing pigeons, everything migrates. All birds know. Almost every bird knows where their home is. They have nests. They literally have homes.
It also doesn't know where her soul is. Do birds know where their souls is?
I don't know. Actually, I can't speak as to that one. Birds are kind of evil though. I feel like they tend towards the mis they tend towards the mischief.
But that's the thing, not everything that flies is a bird. That's what's so weird about the flying typing. That
Sometimes it's a giant metal monstrosity that's thrown into the air by science.
sometimes it's a balloon that eats children. Like, the flying type's a pretty wide bunch. So today, I figured we talk about the flying critters of our world, what they have in common that gets them off the ground, and maybe compare some of the flying types we like. See where we get out of them. See which ones could actually fly. Spoiler alert, not a lot of them, but there's different reasons for each one. For now, though, we're going to get into some news, and I'm going to show you guys for the news. For those who are on the audio side and not on YouTube, I apologize. I will explain what I'm showing in just a moment. I just got to go find it. Here it is. All right, so I'm going to show you all a real quick picture here. All right, so y'all see that mountain, right?
Yeah, that's Mount Fuji.
It is Mount Fuji. What's wrong with it?
There's
There's no
no
ice.
snow.
No ice, no snow. For the first time in over 130 years, Mount Fuji has no snow at this time of the year that it should have. Like, just none. That's what it looks like. There's not much you can say about it. Like, if you all look up a picture of what Fuji's, just type in Mount Fuji, it's always going to have the iconic snow cap. It's always going to have that look to it. But this is the first time that they haven't had the snowfall needed since like 1894. Like, it was a very sunny weather at the time. Let's see the average. I'm reading off an article here. The average October temperature is -2 Celsius, but this year it's 1.6 Celsius. So instead of being 28 degrees Fahrenheit, it's now 34 degrees Fahrenheit, which is a record high since they haven't had since 1932. So these guys are feeling the heat wave. I mean, as far as 34 could be anyone's heat wave, but this is a big deal for the mountain just because it is one of the most iconic images of the country. It would almost be like if the Statue of Liberty just stopped being green at this point. Like, there's just something off about it. And so I figured people should know that, hey, I know it's a million miles away from you, but like, this is a real issue of climate change, and this is one of the minor things that it can do. I can only imagine what this is going to do to the ecosystem in the area, let alone the tourist trade.
I feel like this one also, in particular, because the image is so iconic that maybe it sticks in people's minds better. Like the impacts, like that's something that you can like latch onto. But Probably not. People are hard-headed.
It's definitely a probably I guess you could yeah, like, kind of what you're saying, a more striking. Because you can show people like pictures and video of like glacier erosion all day, but most people aren't looking at that glacier all the time, and it's like Mount Fuji, especially like this picture is like a very like the very iconic Mount Fuji picture,
It's
but
very
without the snow
depressing
cap, it's
mountain.
you kind of yeah, it's very depressing.
And hopefully things will improve. I mean, especially in Japan, I would be very interested to see how the country reacts in terms of I mean, they're one of those same countries like us who like talk about like the climate change stuff, but they don't have as many, detractors from it as we do. So it's very interesting to see where they're going to go with it. I don't know. I wanted a small story on this one, still an impactful one, to be balanced out by a new app that took over. Now, I'm going to say my piece about the app, but I haven't played it, and then I'll turn it over to you two. This Pokemon trading card game app made $12 million in 4 days. Can you two explain why?
Gambling.
Yes, I mean, that's everything that you might hate and love about the physical card game is in this one.
There are sweaty people raging in a Costco to take all the cards in the virtual world too.
The only difference is you can decorate your cards in this game.
Oh, that's lovely.
So yes, the app went live. I played it, Don played it. I personally have too many mobile games, so I tried it just to see, and it genuinely it's fun. It's basically a very pared down version of the actual card game, but it also means it's more streamlined and the decks are smaller. And so I didn't get to play too much in the card design stuff because, in my personal opinion, there are far too many cards in the game to have to manage. And if you are unlocking, I think it requires 3 cards to unlock flair to decorate your card.
Yeah, I actually haven't figured out that system, and I just mindlessly am just in the battle loop. I find the little like rapid gameplay is just like very satisfying.
I was comparing it to in my head to a Marvel Snap, and as a card game, it functions great, it plays great, all those things are fine. The customization and the card management and unlocking for deck stuff, I just think there's too many cards because there's so many cards that you're just not going to use. And but that waters down the pool for unlocking the ability to design your cards, customize them, make them. Whereas Marvel Snap, games like that, if you were to look at how you get the resources to decorate in Marvel Snap, as opposed to getting resources for every potential card, you only get resources for the cards that are in the deck that you are using when you play a specific game. In the Pokemon one, you're literally just opening packs and getting random cards and hoping that you eventually get 3 so that you can add some flair to the card. The pool is much bigger and it's much more watered down for getting to that point.
Does it still use the same like art as all the other cards would in real life?
Oh yeah, and it's got multiple variants. Like there's like 3. Also, Articuno is really good, so the game is excellent. That's my review.
I did. I do have 2 Articunos, so I'm
So
very
do
close
I.
to unlocking some flair for that. I mean, it's fun. The Pokemon card game by itself is fun, and they've had some struggles in the past of making these mobile apps good. And this one, I mean, it's fun. It's a streamlined version of the game. I don't think they screwed it up. I think that it might be a little bit complex in how you get the resources to do specific actions, but the actual gameplay is fine.
I do like how you can, and it's kind of a cop out, but I don't know if you get like enough packs, you get like the pack points, which you can redeem for specific cards, but you need a lot for anything that's like an EX tier or something like that.
They put secret missions in there. There's you can get a Mew card if you complete the set and all those. So they did a lot of things right. I think they have a lot of things that they could potentially improve on, but overall, I think it's a pretty solid venture.
From what I've understood of how the game is played, I think it's taking a little bit from Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, which released a few years ago now, where that basically the same idea of, hey, go play Yu-Gi-Oh! But play it digitally, and it was really well received. My concern versus the others is, well, Don said, gambling. Pokemon is much more connected to kids than Yu-Gi-Oh is. Yu-Gi-Oh at this point is not played by the youth. It is played by people who watched the anime back in the 2000s and loved it. There are obviously people who are younger who still play it, but the target audience for Yu-Gi-Oh tends to stream older. My concern is, are there ways of stopping kids from throwing all their mom's money at getting Articunos?
Not any new ways.
Okay, noted. Can't wait for that article to pop up.
It is definitely. I mean, so I think the thing is that so you get like a daily pack, and then you can use these hourglasses. And I was like, well, you can't buy the hour, but then you can buy the hourglasses.
You can
which
buy
would
the
be-
hourglasses.
Yeah, so potentially there is there. So then it gets down to, are the restrictions up on the user end to prevent kids from just like racking up money for in-game purchases?
I would imagine it's the same as any other app has. I'm sure there's probably some level of parental control or something like that. 'Cause I think it's like the Google Play Store or the Apple equivalent. So I think it's the same as any other like gotcha game, sort of.
Yeah, we'll hopefully see. That's always my big concern. I have a whole tirade about letting kids gamble and how the governments of the world
It
all just
teaches
said
them
like,
about odds and math, Lucas. It's educational.
not with my money, it isn't.
We don't endorse
I
gambling, or we do. I don't know. Depends on who pays.
shut up. Shut it, John.
Definitely not with kids.
No, no. If you're over the age of 18, that's your money. If you need help, get help. But like, I get real scared for what's gonna happen when these kids get to 18 and go find out what Las Vegas really is. But in any case, it's a Pokemon game that was successful for them in the year where they kind of decided to hold back on Pokemon games. So you know what? We'll let them take the win for now. But on to today's episode topic. Let's talk a little bit about flight. So flying is something that nature has kind of picked up, but it's only picked it up about 4 separate times. So in biology, you find that there are 4 groups of animals that have learned to fly. You have insects, the pterosaurs, the birds, the bats. All of them have picked up ways of flying, and that's very different than gliding. Like, do you all know the difference between, like, the official difference between the two?
Falling with style joke.
I would agree. Falling with style.
I hate it that you're both kind of correct. I mean, take a flying squirrel, for example. So, a flying squirrel, they have the extra skin along their body. So that way, when they are falling, it basically slows them down enough so they can direct it. Yes, that would be considered gliding. The baby spiders that shoot silk out their backside and let the winds catch it. They're using the wind to move them around. That's considered a form of gliding. Powered flight, using your muscles to generate thrust and get up into the air and stay there by yourself without any help from the wind or anything else. That is true flight. And it's probably one of the most difficult evolutionary traits to pick up. The amount of change that your body has to go through over millions of years pretty much only makes you good at flying. Think about think about a pigeon. Like, the second a pigeon can't fly, what defense does it have?
Mob mentality.
Not a lot.
Nothing. Nada. Think about it from a fly's perspective or a bat or any other flying animal. The second you take away a flying animal's ability to fly, it's game over because they have evolved only to the point of being able to fly. Once that is passed, they have no other evolutionary skill besides it. It is one of the most precise, niche abilities, and that is why we don't see it in as many varied animals. You'll see plenty of gliding. There's gliding in almost every group. The fish learned how to glide.
The
But
snakes learned how to glide.
the frogs did it, the snakes did it, the fish did it, the mammals did it multiple times. Everyone can glide, but true flight, that takes something. Now, admittedly, the first flyer, it's really annoying when you're looking this stuff up because you look at, what's the oldest flying thing? And they're like, yes, the pterosaurs. And it's like, hold on there, Skippy. The insects would like to make a little chat there with you. The oldest flying organisms on the planet were 350 million years ago. And apparently they were closer related to the mayflies, if anything. But we don't really know what part of their body turned into wings. Like, there's still debate. It was 350 million years ago, so there's not exactly a whole ton of data you can look up on it. Within a few million years, though, they developed multiple different groups of insects. They evolved different means of flying. The 2 most potent were the dragonflies and the beetles. Most insects do not have specialized muscles for their wings. Like dragonflies, most of them have what's called indirect flight muscles. So dragonflies will have direct flight muscles. They will basically control how fast their wings beat with very specific muscles. But things like bees, they will vibrate their thorax to make their wings move, which allows them to move way faster than they would normally be able to if they had to be connected to a nerve signal. Because of that, people had to study for decades how bees are actually capable of flying. Because under the typical rules of aerodynamics, a bee shouldn't be able to fly because it's chunky, its wings are small. But they were able to find out how it was able to do that by just monitoring how its body was vibrating. So insects were the first to pick up how to fly. They just picked it up in a really weird, unorthodox fashion. But then you get to the pterosaurs. And I will point out, pterosaurs are not dinosaurs. That's one of my pet peeves. So they were there with the dinosaurs, but they were actually there before the dinosaurs too, which I think is always really cool.
So what were they?
Pterosaurs are their own group of reptiles. Think of them
Flying
as like
reptiles.
snake, turtles, snakes, turtles, lizards, pterosaurs. Like they're their own separate group of reptiles that just was over in the corner. So about 230 million years ago, that is when we see some of the oldest ones, and they were the first vertebrates to pick up flight. Now, when you're filled with bones, flying gets a little bit harder because instead of an exoskeleton invading wings, you kind of have to figure out how to pick up your massive, real heavy body off the ground and keep it up there, whereas the insects don't really have to worry about that. So, what do you think the pterosaurs had to do to kind of like fix that?
Get a running start?
Weirdly enough, that's one prevailing theory, but there's another one too. It turns out push-ups, and I'm not kidding.
Get swole.
So, well, like literally, if you,
Lizards do really love doing push-ups, or I guess agamas do.
I'm gonna show you guys something really quick here. Let me go grab it because it's a really cool picture, and I'll probably have to use it again for the episode, but I want you guys to see it. So this is how we think, potentially how some of these pterosaurs took off. So they would basically push themselves up off the ground, zoop through the air straight forward, and then pick up enough speed to get moving, which is very different from something like a bird that has to use its back legs to do it. So pterosaurs, to this day, we still don't know exactly how they got off the ground, but they were the most successful flying organisms for millions of years because they had that weird membrane of skin that helped them fly, and they also had incredibly light bones. Despite what you might have heard on TV, birds do not have hollow bones. They're basically honeycombed. So the structure's still there. It's just lighter and more easily likely to shatter. The other thing that they picked up, a really big brain. They are able to coordinate flight a lot better than other animals would because you need a huge brain to kind of know where you're going. Sadly, they're not around anymore. These animals, though, it's amazing to see some of the size of them. I mean, some of them were so large that one of the theory is like yours, Chris. They got a running start, but they had to get a running start off a cliff in order to take off. So these were coastal organisms. They just flew up to the cliffs and then jumped off the cliffs in order to fly. Granted, that's not the best way to take off if you're landing down on the beach and now you got nowhere to go. But the fact that these animals were as large as they were and just took off as well as they did, it's sad that we don't have them anymore. But then, of course, the reptiles were greedy. They decided one flying group of animals wasn't enough. And that's where you get the birds. I'll be quite honest. I'm not going to go into too much background on the birds. You've all seen a bird today. Everyone listening has seen or heard a bird today. That is just, they're everywhere. They are I don't want to say, you know what? Yeah, they are. They are the most widespread flying organisms on the planet. They are on every continent, every side of the pole, every ecosystem. The birds dominated. They are wherever they want to be because their wings were the best wings. I mean, it's far.
We found that out when we fried them.
That's a Dawn line. That's a very Dawn.
Of all the things with wings, they do probably have the best ones.
All right, but As far as the birds go, where we talked about the pterosaurs being able to do push-ups, the reason that drumsticks on chicken taste so good and have so much meat is because birds have super highly packed muscles in their legs because that's what they need to jump and get off the ground to generate that lift. They also need to consume a crap ton of calories in order to keep going. That was one of the other things these animals had to do to keep flying. You're going to consume a lot more calories the more exercise you're doing. And so birds have adapted some pretty crazy metabolisms in order to deal with that. They've also developed, the feather. The feather is nothing more than a modified scale, but in that modification, it has become a game changer. There are so many different types of feathers, even on the same animal, that have different sizes and texture and density, and all these different feathers coalesce into one organism that's able to have them just soar across in vast distances, entire oceans, without having to land. Or you get something like the hummingbird, where their wings just bat 75 times in a second. Like, it's very robust.
Now, Lucas, do you know, speaking of, I made the joke about the wings. Do you know how you can tell whether or not, or which mode of transportation a bird uses by looking at the color of the meat from the parts of their body? Like white meat and dark meat?
Don, you want to take this one? You're better at it.
But yeah, so darker parts of meat are the more densely packed muscle fibers that get higher blood flow, which is so like with something like a chicken.
Yeah, yeah, they have more myoglobin.
Yes, that's the word.
And so they can basically you can use more oxygen in it, in the, or those muscles are better at using oxygen. So you think of birds that fly, they use their wings more than they use their legs. So they're going to need more endurance muscles and better oxygen flow to keep going longer. So that's why that is the darker meat. Whereas think of something like a chicken, they don't use their endurance muscles, aren't their wings or their breasts. So that's more like short burst. And so that's where you get the lighter meat, whereas the darker meat for them, things like turkeys, the more like ground birds, their dark meats in their legs.
There you go. See, there's that ag school education coming out from you, Chris.
That's right. I picked some
That's
things up.
right. And that's really important to know as well, not just about the meat, but also the wings themselves. Just by looking at the feathers, you can tell exactly what kind of bird you were dealing with and where they were going. I mean, you have animals that have literally given up on flight and they just turn their wings into either really good insulation like penguins or like little quills like the cassowaries. Like, there's so many different varieties of them. And that's the reason they're so successful. Despite having the restrictions of flight, some of them just decided, well, I don't need this. And others are like, all right, yeah, I'll fly, but I'll be a harpy eagle and I'll fly through the forest and attack sloths, or I'll be an eagle and soar above the valleys. Like, there's so many different varieties. Now, the last group of flyers, and never the least, are the bats. I mean, better late than never. The first bats showed up about 50 million years ago, which isn't really that far off. They borrowed from the pterosaur playbook. So instead of developing modified scales or weird wings, they just have a leathery membrane that helps them fly, which are connected with very elongated fingers. If you don't know anything about bats, they're terrifying. If you know something about bats, they're actually really, really cool. They do have something that, sadly, the birds have something that they can't do. They don't have the muscles to jump and go like the pterosaurs or the birds. Instead, they basically have to find a high point and jump. So cave roof, top of a tree, a a gutter from off the side of your
Bridge
house.
underpasses, they
Yeah,
love those.
bridges in Texas.
Yeah.
Anywhere that they can hang off of, that's the reason why they're hanging up there, because they can't get off the ground as easily. So if you see a bat on the ground, it's probably going to try and climb and fly away. It's not able to pick up and go. The one thing they do have over the birds and the pterosaurs, and, well, not the bugs, and we'll get to that, they are incredibly maneuverable. If you watch a bat fly through the air, they can do so many different turns and twists to catch their prey of insects. It's remarkable to watch them go. Combine that with the echolocation ability to really see where you're going, even at pitch darkness. It's amazing that they've evolved as fast as they have to be so successful at taking off. I will point out there was at least one study that found that if you slow down bats flying at night, they're bumping into each other a lot and then collecting themselves and they keep flying. I just think that makes it more impressive. If a bird crashes into another bird, then both those birds are probably not going to have a great time. But if the bats do it, they do it all the time and they're still staying in the air. Very good way of flying. They've done an amazing job. I really respect the fact that the bats picked it up.
It's because they're so soft and fuzzy, they just bounce off each other.
Yeah, just boop, boop. With all that being said, and all the flyers covered, have you noticed any trends? Like, what are some of these things that they all have in common?
Wings.
Wings,
Wings, yes, good.
muscles.
Muscles, yeah, you got to be strong enough to pick those wings up. Can you be really heavy?
No.
No, you got to be light enough. So we got a couple of
Or
quantifiers.
strong enough.
Yeah. No, even then the strength, there's a balance. You can't be too muscular that you can't take off the ground. Because don't get me wrong, an ostrich is plenty muscular, but it doesn't have the wings to take
Well,
it off.
it doesn't have the muscles in the right place.
Or it doesn't have the wingspan as well. You need to
Do you
have a
guys
large
know what
enough
the
wing.
heaviest flying bird is?
Isn't it
Condor?
a stellar sea eagle?
No, the Cory bustard. It weighs
Oh my gosh, I
42.
remember that
It
thing. Let
weighs
me grab a
42
picture.
pounds.
The Cory buzzard. Yeah. Oh yeah, this thing is an
Bustard.
animal.
It's not a buzzard. It's like it's like a semi-ground bird, but it still kind of flies.
It kind of looks like a fancier roadrunner.
Kinda.
Yeah, I'm gonna put one of these in the Discord just because I just like this picture of this terrifying monstrosity just holding a rabbit. It's like,
I
yes,
think he's cool.
I caught this. This is mine.
It's
But it's
5 feet tall.
Jeez.
but even
Like
then at
that's a
5 feet,
normal-sized rabbit. That's not like a baby rabbit.
I mean, it's a normal size. It's 5 feet tall, but again, it only weighs what, 40 pounds?
Yeah, that's still, I mean, for a bird, that's incredibly heavy, but you're right, for a 5 foot tall thing, that's not heavy.
Yeah, and
That's
that's important.
that's Charizard.
You can't say that on a Pokemon podcast
It
episode. They'll
is
get
Charizard.
angry.
But like what
Isn't
Charizard's what
Nidoking
like
like 4'9"?
He's like 5'8". Is he 5'3" or 5'8"?
Charizard is 5'7" and 200 pounds.
He's under Tom Cruise. He's 1 inch under Tom Cruise.
Nidoking is 4'7".
Stop. Oh, we can't
Nidoqueen
play
is
this
4'3". Slowbro's 5'3". Okay, good for Slowbro.
I mean, you're kind of jumping ahead, but that's Pokemon's problem with all its flying types. They're too heavy, or they're too small, or their wings aren't big enough. They basically slapped wings on a bunch of creatures and hope for the best that we wouldn't notice because they slapped a flying type on it. Okay, straight up, the
Not to
Pokemon.
diverge too quick, Lucas, but here's a fun little one real quick. We'll do a weight game. How heavy do you think Pelipper is?
68 pounds.
47 pounds.
61.7.
Ah, he win. Right, he went. I went over.
So
Oh
Pelipper is bigger. Pelipper is about 4 feet tall. Pelipper is thicker than this Cory bustard.
goodness. Oh my god. It's. I mean, yeah, that's the point. Most of them are too heavy to do this. I mean, the biggest flying creature in Pokemon isn't even a flying type. It's Wailord. Wailord is 40 feet long. Like, it's 40 feet tall. It's clearly well longer than that. This creature only weighs 800 pounds. It's called the float whale Pokemon for a reason. If Wailord was in our world, you would have to make it eat rocks or tie it down like a Thanksgiving Day parade balloon in order for it to stop flying away. Like, it's not even close. It's hysterical. But it's just one of those things like, oh, Pokemon. That's the whole reason I did this episode, was to complain. I apologize. I hit it under the concept of learning, but I just wanted to be
I like that
angry.
the only flying move Wailord learns is bounce.
Admittedly, okay, it would be incredibly unfair, but with something like a Wailord, I would make bounce a one-hit KO move. Just like
Even something
imagine,
that's 900 pounds bounces on you.
well, like imagine being hit by a deflating Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot. That's a lot of material.
So
All right.
that just I was trying to I just had a vision. So the Empire State Building, the spire, was originally intended to potentially be like a mooring post for like airships and zeppelins. So I just had a vision of like Wailord just like tied to the Empire State Building.
You
As
do
New
realize
York
I'm gonna have
Internet.
to make that and put that in the video episode now.
That'd be
It's
so
it's right
good.
there now. It's
Yeah.
right there. Oh my god. All right. So let's get to flying types I really like. We'll get to that. We'll work our way through. One of my favorites is Yanma. Yanma, the Yanma line. Love them to death. I wish they were more useful in combat because I love the speed boost ability on its own. I
Yon
love it.
Mega just top 8 at a regional.
Really?
Yep.
Doing what? Support or heavy offense?
Yes. It was Wolf Glick used it to get top 8 on the one of those Porygon 2 Ursaluna teams that are common. Yon Mega was I think it was Detect or Protect, Tailwind, Bug Buzz, Air Slash. So Bug Flying like threatens a lot of the fighting types and the grass types that threaten Ursaluna. Speed Boost plus Tailwind is really convenient. You can get it in towards the end of Trick Room, Protect, and now you'll be the fastest thing coming out of Trick Room. So then you go from very slow bear to very fast bear.
What did you just say? Very fast. Oh, okay, there was
So
almost a five night.
you're using Yon Mega to click Tailwind next to Ursaluna. So then it can click Earthquake. But also you run it with a Trick Room mode so it can be slow. Also, Yanma's had a little bit of use as well lately, in sort of shenanigan stuff because it has compound eyes and no, yeah, or sash, but it has compound eyes, so it has a hypnosis that almost never misses.
Oh, that's mean.
So
I
you
don't
can
like
just
that.
sleep.
So when you go through the dex entries, you know how the song and dance goes. Some of them are wildly weird. Some of them are neat. This one is 100% accurate to a dragonfly. Like, okay, check this. Yanma is capable of seeing 360 degrees without having to move its eyes. It's a great flyer that is adept at making sudden stops and turning midair. This Pokemon uses a flying ability to quickly chase down targeted prey. That's a dragonfly. That is 100%. That is just a dragonfly. So that's great. 10 out of 10. Pokemon, you did a great job. I think that you could do better. In the future, I know baby Pokemon aren't anyone's favorite, like when it comes to like adding them because it makes it harder to train, blah, blah, blah. I love dragonfly nymphs because they're terrifying. Have you ever seen a dragonfly larva before, Chris? I'm pretty sure Don's seen them.
I used to keep them in a fish tank.
I have not.
All right, I'm going to show you something mildly adorable and terrifying. So, dragonflies, when they are born, they grow into what are known as nymphs.
Fees.
So they're these little water bugs that will just stay down at the bottom
Even that was
of a
awesome.
lake or a river, and then they get hungry, and it turns out they are carnivorous. So if you want to look at that poor fish, being reminded that just because you have a spinal column does not mean you're at the top of the food chain.
And they have a raptorial lower jaw, kind of like Alien. They shoot their lower jaw out to grab their prey.
Yeah, that is how a dragonfly spends about the 1 to 2 years of its life. For the first part of its life, it's just down there reminding the fish that they're not the top dogs in the pond anymore. They also eat mosquito larvae, so they're very useful. Once they grow up, that's when you get to the dragonflies we know today. And Yanma's whole thing about moving back and forth and maneuvering, that is 100% real because dragonflies are the best flying animals on Earth in terms of maneuverability. They're never going to beat the birds on distance. They're never going to beat the bats on weird powers. But when it comes to just whipping it around a corner, they can exert a whole lot of G's. When they're making a maneuver, they can hit about 9 G's, so 9 times the force of gravity on their body, and they are doing this constantly. The only humans that go through this are fighter pilots, and even they can only do it a certain number of times before they pass out and their plane crashes. And meanwhile, the dragonflies are doing this outside your window right now, just trying to look for a snack. So they are easily the most maneuverable. As far as Yanma's size goes, it's not terrible. I mean, given that we used to have giant dragonflies as well. So this was the largest dragonfly to ever live. It's about the size of a small eagle. It only weighed a few pounds, like 1 or 2 pounds. Want to guess how many pounds Yanma is?
Too many.
Too many? Oh,
Yanma or
come on.
Yanmega?
Yanma. We're gonna go. I'm giving it the benefit of the
35,
doubt with
I'll
the
say.
small one.
You know what? I'm gonna go big. Let's say 100.
83 pounds.
Dang, Yanma's not even that big.
No, he's not. He's just dense. Yanmega is 113 pounds. Yeah, Yanma isn't even that big. It's just really bulbously dense. And so it wouldn't really be able to fly just because it's so darn heavy. That's
He's
why it
thick.
needs the speed boost.
He's thick with it.
He do be thick with it. I do also love shout out to Yanmega's legs because Yanmega has the sharp legs that allow them to grab food out of the sky. And so that's a nice little feature that they added to it. Really love the design.
They don't dare show you the teeth.
Yeah, no, you don't. They don't show you the jaw. That's why they didn't do it. Now,
People still beg for Dragon Bug Mega Yanmega.
I mean, are they wrong? Like, we do
No.
need a dragon bug.
Oh, I had a fun Yanma fact because I love Yanma a lot. Do you know how annoying it is to catch in the original games?
Not as bad as headbutting a hair across tree.
It has a 1% encounter rate.
Excuse you?
Yeah, it's a swarm Pokemon, but I think you have to get a phone call from one guy. Yeah, there's like the trainer phone system.
Oh no, I can hear my
Yeah.
mom calling to spend my money.
So silly.
Oh my god. Yeah, so basically you have to wade through calls of other trainers looking to get their butts kicked again. And then it's like, "Oh yeah, I found these bugs. Go get them."
I also really like Shiny Yanma. I like the blue.
I think it looks good too. Again, Yanma and Yanmega were some of my favorite Pokemons. I wish they could fly. Just make them a little lighter. Just make them a little bit lighter, and you'll have been just fine. But there is another Pokemon who I think really shouldn't fly at all in any capacity, and that's Aerodactyl. Aerodactyl is the weirdest little goober if you know anything about pterosaurs. Like, I showed you guys that picture of just what they look like when they're trying to fly. And you'll notice that their wings are absolutely, massive. Like the wings needed to take off for a pterosaur were basically like a kite. And Aerodactyl, not so much. Just kind of,
Kites aren't fearsome.
I mean, okay, you say that. But I'm going to go ahead and jump ahead in the script here and show you the largest pterosaur that ever lived. That's Quetzalcoatl, and that's it standing next to a giraffe.
I mean, just because it's big doesn't mean it's scary.
And
Giraffes
that
aren't
gonna be
scary.
beak
and it's
is as
galloping
long.
around like a freak.
Have you seen a giraffe gallop?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, but
I
it's gonna
have.
scuttle gallop at you and then eat you in its giant beak.
Have you never seen a giraffe run at you? It is not a great feeling because it's just lumbering towards you and its long 6 foot tall legs can deal with you. Truth be told, Quetzalcoatl was about the size of a small giraffe. In any case, Quetzalcoatl is terrifying. Quetzalcoatl is one of the largest pterosaurs it's the largest flying thing that's ever lived. It is terrifying that the fact that this thing even existed. And when you compare something like that to an Aerodactyl, like Aerodactyl's cool, but Aerodactyl's real goofy looking. I will read its dex entry, and I do appreciate its dex entry because it is also fairly accurate. It flew through the open skies over the ancient continents as if it were its own. When it touched the ground, its walk was weak and small. And that makes sense given what some of the fossil records have shown us that these organisms, as they were on the ground, they were a lot more vulnerable because they're a lot more weaker. At the same time, they do have these massive towering necks and massive towering beaks. So the largest ones could get away by being weird and gangly looking. The little ones just survived by being around each other or maybe flying higher altitude. But as far as Aerodactyl goes, I don't know. The wings, it looks like someone drew it off the style of like a Dragon Quest dragon. Like it looks a little bit too fantastical for my taste, which is not to say that it's not a fantastic Pokemon. I mean, I still remember seeing my first Aerodactyl back in Pokemon Yellow and thinking it was awesome. Has Aerodactyl ever been like useful in like the meta?
It's had some moments. It's really, really fast. Having really fast tailwind always lets you do a thing. Having wide guard along with it, Mega Aerodactyl, I want to say either won or almost top cut a regional. In the Ruby Sapphire, Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire days. But I mean, base 130 speed, fast rock slide is very annoying. It has wide guard, it has taunt. Now with the dynamic speed control, I think it's taken a little bit of a hit, but it was around. It matched up decently into some stuff, and it was just sort of the fastest thing. It was often like the speed ceiling in metas, so it was more of a support role. Like it would have tailwind, rock slide, maybe taunt, wide guard, something like that.
All right, now time for the fun part. Guess how tall it was, and guess what its weight was. So talk about height. How tall is this
I'm
thing?
not going to answer because I'm on the page looking at its stats.
Dang it, Chris, you're up.
Let's say it is 5'5",
Okay, and weight?
200.
5'11", 130.1.
Pretty close.
Pretty close. Now, as far as weight
Hilarious that it
goes,
weighs like the same as Yanmega.
as far as weight goes, it's actually smaller than Quetzalcoatl. Quetzalcoatl only weighed 400 pounds, which is nothing compared to the weight of a full-grown giraffe, but it's still a lot more than 130. The problem is, again, the wingspan. If you were to take Aerodactyl's wings and connect them from the tip down to where the feet are, like almost like that glider, that would be enough to pick it off the ground and still be awesome. Might not look as demony, but I think it would look pretty accurate and kind of cool if they did it. I get it's a design choice. It's one of the originals. It looks cool enough as it is. Also, there was one other thing it said. It had saw-like teeth. Pterosaurs did not have teeth, but there was one bird that did. Let me see if I saved that. I know I saved that picture.
I wouldn't be surprised if not true teeth, but a lot of fish-eating birds now have a very like serrated bill, and I imagine some of the pterosaurs did as well. So it could be a
Well, that's what I was going to pull up. You got it right on the nose. Here is Sandursi, which was the largest flying bird to ever live. There's its face. Chris, thoughts? Look how cute he is. Look at this cute little bird.
I don't like him.
Okay, would you like him if he was gigantic? Because there he is. Look how big he is.
I like him less.
Look at him. He's such a. He lived in North Carolina and South Carolina. They're our
you should
neighbors.
be proud of him.
Yeah.
Mm,
They actually have pictures of him at the Charleston airport where you can come and look and just like look at this thing that used to live here while you're claiming your luggage that you're waiting on for 2 hours. Look at this weird little freak bird. But yeah, no, the idea of them having teeth, not real. The fact that they would have razor beaks for grabbing fish, more likely, and something I would like to see. So I found 2 creatures that were not birds that could fly. Do y'all have any other ones you want to talk about? It's a big list. There's a lot of flying types.
well, so I didn't necessarily go on the route of something non that flyer. I wanted to talk about Galarian Zapdos or a couple of the Galar birds, because there's some interesting bits about them that I wanted to pick your brain about, Lucas, in particular. So first we'll do Galarian Zapdos. I think I've seen a little bit of debate as to like what it is inspired by. I've seen kiwis, I've seen ostrich. I tend to lean on the Roadrunner side of things.
I would not put a kiwi in the fighting type category.
I would put a
Neither would I,
kiwi
but
in
that's
like grass.
it's what I have seen. But I would say I lean mostly towards Roadrunner. Of all of them, which Roadrunners, if you've never seen a Roadrunner fight like a snake, awesome stuff. But Roadrunners are capable of very small, short burst flight, not necessarily like sustained flight. And that's because most of what they eat, they need to like chase down on the ground.
They are incredibly tough. So yeah, there's a reason they got the cartoon after him.
Very, very fast too. Also, how big? So Galar and Kanto Zapdos are the same height. They're both 5 feet tall, but Galar is a little bit thicker. Do you want to guess how big it is,
No, I'm looking at the stats.
Don?
Galar, so like
Yeah.
it's gonna be like I'm gonna say 7. I'm gonna go tall. Say it's 7 feet tall. Some of the newer mons are big.
It's only 5 feet tall.
Well, yeah,
5'3".
you said it was the same as normal Zapdos. Duh,
Yeah.
it's gonna be tiny.
Okay, and then weight. It's only 130. So, but the bit that I love in the design about Galar Zapdos is it is a flying type. Do you know what flying moves it gets?
Fly.
Oh, wait, I should know this. Doesn't it get fly? No, it gets dual wing beat.
I see at least one flying.
It
I
get
see a few. I
it
see
gets dual wing
pluck.
beat and brave bird.
Yes, it gets all those. All those are from TM. The ones that it learns naturally. So the learn set for its natural ones, it does not learn any wing based moves for flying. It's a whole beak. It's peck, pluck, drill peck, and roost are the only ones that it is like designed to learn. Actually, wait, no, I lied because that was Kanto one. The only flying types that Galarian Zapdos learns through leveling up is peck, pluck, and drill peck. They don't treat this thing like a flying one. Like they don't give it any of the good flying. Like it,
I mean, it doesn't
I
sound great when you put it that
I
like
don't
that.
think that Galar Zapdos should be a flying type.
You're thinking something along the lines of like what's his face?
I mean, if I'm
The
being honest,
bird owl. What was it?
I think it should be fighting ground, if anything.
A burrowing owl.
Yeah, but I don't know. Don, is this crazy to say that it should not be a flying type? Like, I don't even think Pokemon wants it to be a flying type.
I mean, it's a really good typing. So maybe they wanted it to be a flying type. I guess I mean, I think they were just stuck. They had to have the theme of the birds. I wonder if maybe they designed it first and went, "Oh, this is cool," but also, wait a minute.
I don't know. I
Decidueye. That's who I was thinking of. They couldn't go Decidueye route and just make it
mm,
like, yeah, you're a bird, but you're not a flying type.
you're not flying. Yeah. The other Galar bird I wanted to talk about was Galar Articuno. Obviously, Articuno, one of the greatest Pokemon ever. But the bit that I wanted to talk about is I don't believe that Galar Articuno actually flies.
You it just telepathy levitates.
I think it just levitates itself, but it has wings. So my question would be, how long until its wings become useless? Like if it never uses them to fly, at what point would it not be able to use them to fly?
That actually poses an interesting thought because so what we think of as feathers were not, we believe, originated for flight. Like feathers were adapted for flight. Originally, feathers were thought to have been either for thermal regulation, camouflage, attracting a mate, intimidation. Feathers could have had a number of different uses before they were originally used as flight, as we see today that things like peacocks will use their feathers for attraction. We see animals using them for camouflage. In the case of this one, it might, doesn't this thing have like the ability to scare the crap out of anything that comes near it?
Yeah, with its like psychic eyes, Medusa type eyes, yeah.
I still think it's using its wings. It's just not using them as direct flight. It
Well, it
might
says
be
that
just using.
they're blades or something too, I think.
Yeah, it says that it use its wings can slice through iron like paper.
Feather
There
light
you
it says
go.
feather-like blades of psychic energy.
See, it uses its wings to conduct its power. So they're not going to shrivel up. They're just not as used in the same way. And that's a really good observation.
So, but would it at some point would it just not be able to use like if it's like obviously the wings still have muscle growth, but it's not the same as muscle growth for sustained flight. Would it lose the ability to use them for flying?
Oh, possibly, yeah. I could see
Yeah.
that.
It has enough strength to use them as a weapon, but not enough strength to pick it up off the ground if, say, its psychic powers
Or
got a
just
little
the
bit
way the
weaker.
muscles operate might shift more away from flying.
And
I
then
mean, yeah, no,
Galar,
I can see that.
yeah, and then
I will
Galamorphous is
say,
just a fiend.
I didn't get a chance to say it before we spoke. I do believe that Galar Zapdos is more based on an ostrich, purely based on the thighs. Like that thing is beefy, but I can see the Roadrunner. I could definitely see your Roadrunner, but it is just ridiculously beefy. That thing scares me a little bit.
Either way, it's gonna kick you.
Oh yeah, no. If you're talking about kicks, like if we're talking about birds that kick, secretary bird. But an ostrich, like they just peck you to death. Like they'll peck and kick you.
No, I mean they can kick you pretty good.
I I think the only bird Pokemon that learns less flying moves naturally is Empoleon.
Now I have
Yeah.
to think about stuff.
Because
What
yeah,
is it?
Empoleon just learns
It
Peck and
just
Drill
learned
Peck.
Peck and Drill Peck. I thought
Yeah.
it got Pluck. Or are we counting only level up?
Only level up.
What does the Situi get?
I think he gets Air Cutter? No, that's a TM. No.
Uh,
Yeah, we're all looking it up.
Peck, Pluck, Feather Dance, and Brave Bird.
Okay.
I mean, still Brave Bird. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right.
Don, did you have one one freaky one?
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna I'm gonna sort of make an extrapolation with this guy because I just like this Pokemon a lot. And he is a flying type, but he's not a bird. And Halloween's over, but I don't care. Drifblim,
Oh boy.
Spooky boy.
spooky boy. So we all love Drifblim. At least I do, and everyone should.
Oh,
So,
goodness.
Of all ghost types, so
Drifblim, he carries people and Pokemon away, which is bad. But so my theory is that Drifblim's he's like, if I'm gonna try to rationalize how Drifblim could be. So we know, so we have bombardier beetles, right? And we have other things that do a chemical reaction that
Yep.
generates heat. So what if Drifblim's whole body was just a drastically modified wing membrane, and the main organ was like the equivalent of a bombardier's beetle's chamber that it would generate small spurts of heat? Because they mentioned in the Pokédex entry that they'll disappear during the day and like they'll congregate in the evening. So once it's cooler, so then you need less hot air to rise within the cool air around you.
I mean, I hear you, but do you know what it uses for the gas inside its body?
It says it can generate probably souls. I don't know.
Check the Ultra Moon entry.
Oh boy. I got this one. Let's see. Ultra Moon.
Yes, I was right.
Oh my god. Yeah, nope. Yeah, gathering wandering souls gathered together to form this Pokemon.
When it starts to lose its gas, it carries away people and Pokemon.
Well, we have to assume that the souls themselves are also flammable. Because one of its abilities, Aftermath, causes damage when it faints. And its hidden ability, Flare Boost, makes it go faster. Or no, more special attack when it's burned. So clearly, the souls are flammable.
Yeah, the souls are flammable.
Ever think it's not just souls? Maybe it's just breaking down the chemicals of the body into something flammable.
Oh yeah, it could be
Like we
using,
use
methane.
souls because that's like what the old wise people of the village told us, and it just kind of kept going. But in reality, what it's doing is far worse. Like it's literally melting you down to your base components into fuel, like biofuel.
I mean, it definitely.
The-
So,
the- the
Lucas,
way-
would you
the-
say Drifblim flies or glides?
Well, it's moving of its own power, and it's using
I
its
think
muscles to grab
some of
children.
the Pokédex says it's at the mercy of the wind. It's
Ooh.
it's sky plankton.
So that doesn't make it true flight. Or
And it
powered
does
flight in any case.
it does say it controls the altitude of its drift.
Yeah, I guess it's in
a
the
sky
same way that
jellyfish.
we didn't consider balloons powered flight, so why would we consider Driftbloom powered flight?
It's true. Yeah, the Shining Pearl says it carries people and Pokemon when it flies, but since it only drifts, it can end up anywhere. So imagine getting grabbed by this thing, and then it doesn't even know where it's taking you, but it's taking.
Where are we
you.
going? I don't know. Whee!
We're
Isn't this
going.
fun?
We don't need eyes to see.
It also has my favorite one of my favorite entries where it says it's like where does it go? Nobody knows. Why does nobody no one has followed them?
No
Well,
one
they
put a
creep us-
tracker.
They
Look,
creep
okay,
us out.
Pokemon doesn't have as many ethical quandaries as we would in our world, so hear me out. We get a bunch of kids, we let them run around in the park. Each one of them are air tagged. And so we let them grab a kid and we follow the child and we see how far it gets.
Nobody knows where they go.
That is such a weird thing. Like, and to be fair, in scientific journals, you would use language similar like we were not able to acquire a result yet with this experiment. Here they're just like, nah, dog, we don't know. Whatever. All right, I know we're running out of time, but I'd be remiss if we didn't mention him at least once because it's weird. We got to talk a little bit about Zubat. Have you guys seen the GIF of how Zubat flies? Like, I have to show it because it is very, very funny. I promise I won't take too much time. I just need you all to see this because it's hysterical. Just look at him go. Look at him go. Oh, it's not moving. Dang it.
He's not
I know.
moving.
I know the. I
Yeah,
like it.
yeah. No, I was trying to get a
is,
GIF.
Zubat is drunk.
Yeah, Zubat flies like a drunk person. Like it's just constantly flapping its wings and going crazy. And to be quite honest, bats look pretty crazy when they're flying too. I like how, unlike the bird ones, they gave it this smooth, majestic glide for most of the bird animations. The Zubat is just going up and down, like flapping like crazy. But that shows just how they would fly in their natural environment. I like that Pokemon did that. They did get the weight wrong again. This thing is well, it's 2 feet tall, so that's nice.
That's
But
bigger than I would have expected.
yeah, it's 2 feet
How
tall.
much of that is weird feet?
Too much.
You have a point. Yeah, I need to look up the flying fox's size. The flying fox is it is smaller than a flying fox. A flying fox has a wingspan of about 5 feet, and it weighs about 3 pounds. A Zubat, like 2 feet tall, but it weighs 16 pounds. So these things are okay. So flying fox, largest bat, blah 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 blah, and a body length of around 4 centimeters. Yeah, this thing is huge. Like a flying fox, if you've never seen one up close, there's a reason they got the name. I think there's oh good, this picture will make this a lot easier. Yeah, so if you need to understand how big a flying fox is, here you go, boys. Enjoy.
That I feel like that's whenever they want to like make a Dracula movie, that's like the vampire bat they should or the bat they should use.
They like fruit.
Yeah,
though.
no, it's like that would be what it was like to hold a Zubat. Like that is effectively the size, just a whole lot heavier.
Don, I know that they like fruit, but you know the story of the bald eagle and the other one that's got the better screech. It's about
Yeah, the bald eagle and the red-tailed hawk.
yeah, it's about looks in
Yeah,
Hollywood.
if anything's gonna turn into a spooky vampire, it's the hammerhead bat, and I've talked about this before.
Okay, I gotta put it up for the people who haven't seen it.
The side profile is the most important part.
All right.
Oh my god, no. No. Stop.
They have a 3-foot wingspan. They're huge.
No, you can't say that. Oh my
It
god.
looks like if a hippo was a bat.
It looks like someone made a spore creature creator. Oh my god. Oh no. No.
Did you ever play the game Impossible Creatures?
No, I don't want to. If this thing's in it.
Well,
Oh
Impossible
my
no, it's not in it, but Impossible Creatures is basically like you could it's like a Command and Conquer style game. I forget what the
Oh, this is like sounding familiar now. I'm not sure if
uh,
I've played it, but at least I've seen it.
but instead of like the way you build your armies is that you send scientists into the field to capture the DNA of animals, and then you can mix the animals. So, like the cover of the game is a tiger lobster, and I feel like this is a creature that you can make in in that game. Hold on, but I do need to show you because the cover art for this game is sick.
I think I'm gonna throw up. What is okay? Judging by the eyes. Okay, so this thing eats fruit. Thank goodness. Oh my god. Oh
Oh my
wow,
god,
yeah, that
I'm
is a
gonna get
tiger
this game.
lobster.
Like, look at that. But like you can make like a rhino lobster.
This looks awesome.
So you
can
can
make
either
any kind of lobster you want.
you can make a skunk lobster, but it's basically like you could take the you could either make a lobster with a tiger head, or you can make a tiger and it's got like a lobster and it's got lobster claws. Like
No,
a
don't
tiger
choose the
Lobster is really
inferior.
just the optimal.
Yeah, lobster's optimal build. Why would I go to a weak tiger body? I want the hateful instincts of a zebra on the lobster's terrifying body. Although that's a
uh ho-
scorpion in the cover art.
Oh, it is. It is a scorpion. That's even cooler. This is
That's
so
even
rad.
better.
you've so some other I'm trying to remember some of the other ones. Cheetah lobsters were popular, porcupine eagles,
This game
giraffe
sounds sick.
chameleons.
I'm gonna get this.
Okay, hear me out. How about the giraffe lobster? How did he do in the meta?
That I'm not sure about that one. Coyote ants. Those were big. I remember coyote ants.
Oh my
Can we like all get this game and have like a 3v3 battle royale?
I can't
Someone
believe you
check
guys never
Steam.
heard of this game.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay.
Like,
Okay.
wait, hold on. I gotta drop one more photo in the
One more.
chat.
We got to start
Yeah,
wrapping
and
up.
then I
Oh
got
my
yeah.
god.
Like, look at this army.
It just oh my god. Is that a shark horse?
I believe it is. And a
Okay.
flying
Okay. Hold
poison dart
up.
frog.
Hold up.
Do
The
you not see
rhino
the
gorilla
gorilla rhinos?
hybrids. The rhino gorilla hybrids, though.
Yeah,
Those go
it's
hard.
It was a great game.
That looks like a great game. Oh my lord. Oh my god. Oh, we've gone right off the rails.
We'll have to talk about impossible creatures after you play it, Don.
I'm gonna have to play it. Yeah.
All right. So hopefully, through this deranged rant by the end, hasn't dissuaded you. Flying type Pokemon are awesome. They have a whole ton of variety from bugs and birds and pterodactyls and soul sucking balloons and bats. There's so many different flying types out there. I would argue that it is the most diverse, or at least one of the most diverse typings in Pokemon. Because most of the water type are going to be based on fish. But then you get the flying types. It just kind of matched up with all these different flying organisms all over the world. I think they're pretty awesome. I wish more of them could fly. Truth be told, there's only a handful that could. Last I checked, Wingull is the right weight and size of an albatross, so he's good. Everything else, not so much. But hopefully, we can do another one of these about flying types in the future. We can talk more about them and some of the things they do. For now, I hope you guys are having a great rest of your day or night while listening. We got some more fun stuff planned for you for the rest of the year. Thank you guys so much for listening. Have a great night, everybody. Bye.